Cluster sampling is one of the type of probability sampling method. Cluster sampling is a sampling method commonly used in research when it is difficult or impractical to survey an entire population. In cluster sampling, the population is divided in cluster and then a random sample of cluster is selected for inclusion in the study. This method is practically useful when it is costly or time consuming. To obtain a complete list of all individuals or elements in the population, cluster sampling has advantages such as reduced data collection, cost, and increased feasibility in large populations. However, it also has limitations, including potential increased sampling error compared to simple random sampling and the need to account for the clusters nature of the data in statistical analysis. Researchers must carefully plan cluster sampling to ensure that the selected clusters are representative of the population and that the survey is conducted effectively within each cluster. So now we need to understand one examples for cluster sampling. Like cluster sampling is a sampling technique that involves dividing a population into clusters or groups, randomly selected some clusters, and then sampling all the individuals or units within the selected clusters. In hospital settings, suppose we are going to take the example from the hospital settings, cluster sampling might be used for various research or quality assurance purposes. Here's an example of how cluster sampling could be applied in a hospital. So scenario is assessing patient satisfaction with hospital services in a large urban hospitals. So like first we need to form cluster formation. So the hospital divided its patient population into clusters based on geographical regions or departments within the hospital. For instance, the clusters could be defined as a different hospital wards like maternity ward, surgical ward, pediatric wards, or some other wards, or different hospital buildings if it's a large hospital with multiple buildings like AIMS New Delhi. So cluster sampling methods. So first point is we need to understand random cluster selection. From the list of after formation of the clusters, we need to select one. We need to select the random cluster. So from the list of clusters, wards or buildings, a random selection is made. Let's say the surgical ward and the pediatric ward are randomly chosen as a clusters. After that, sampling within a clusters. Within each selected clusters, surgical ward and pediatric ward, all the patients are a random sample of patients are surveyed to assess their satisfaction with hospital services. This could involve conducting interviews, distributing questionnaires, or using other data collection methods. So after that, we need to analyze the data. So the data collected from the patients within each selected clusters is analyzed separately for each clusters. This allows for an assessment of patient satisfaction within each specific area of the hospitals. So few advantage of cluster sampling in the particular in this scenario like hospital clusters. So point is efficiency means cluster sampling can be more efficient than simple random sampling, especially when the population is large and dispersed. It reduces the large logistical challenges of surveying every patient in the entire hospitals, and cost effective. It can be cost effective because data collection efforts are concentrated within selected clusters rather than attempting to survey the entire hospitals. Resource allocation, it allows for a more focused allocation of resources and attention to specific hospitals, departments, or areas that might have unique challenges or needs. And then variability, cluster sampling may help capture the variability in patient satisfaction across different parts of the hospital, providing more detailed insights. So, in summary, however, it's important to recognize that cluster sampling has its limitations, including the potential for increased sampling error and the need to ensure that the clusters chosen are truly representative of the entire hospital population. Careful planning and random selection of clusters are critical to the validity of the result.